the continuation of Get Into the Property Groove for 2017, a whole month of content to inspire landlords to a profitable and successful new year. And joining me now is landlord Denise Naylor. And Denise, we thought we would talk a little bit on the topic of Section 24 because it is going to influence landlord behaviour this year, isn't it?
Thank you, Vanessa, very much so. And I would really say to the community, the first thing you need to do is to decide what your aim is. If your aim has always been to be an investor in property because you have a job or you have a business on the side, then if that's still your aim, stick with that. Whereas if your aim is to be full-time in property or run a property business, then stick with that aim. Because I think the time frame is quite short to adapt to the new Section 24, and it might not be helpful if you switch horses just right now.
Now, you're saying this because you run a networking event for women and you're hearing some sort of knee-jerk reactions from landlords, aren't you?
Well, I think it's understandable because obviously it's not clear. We haven't even seen this yet. Although, of course, this year we will see, because it's 2017, we will begin to see the impacts. And so people have many questions and people want to know what they should do, and particularly if they're starting out. But, of course, if you're starting out, just set your aim, just set your intention and start out. You're in a different position, and I'll say something in a minute about that. But for the existing people in property, as I say, I would recommend that unless there's a big change in your life, don't change your aim, change your actions to achieve your aim.
Very good advice. Now, some landlords are understandably looking to other areas where they can increase their yields. And I know you share with us that landlords can't just go into an area without fully understanding the area, the tenant demand, etc. What advice would you give there?
Well, I have properties in London and have properties in the Leeds Bradford area, but I've been there for many years and I know the area. And so I have my network set up, I have my contacts and my business partners set up there. So I would say to people, do your due diligence in a very thorough way. And especially if you're going to be buying from, let's say, a landlord who is selling up to mitigate the tax changes coming, then just be doubly careful.
Indeed.
But then that's always what we say. But this time you must follow that advice. Yes. But don't be fearful. I think it's a great time, by the way, for opportunity. But just be really clear what your strategy is and make a detailed plan, run the numbers, and then work to your strategy. Don't get sidetracked.
No, I totally agree. Now, landlords, they do tend to work in isolation. The smaller landlord that has a job, a very busy full-time career. Some of them, as we've discussed, don't actually even know they're a landlord. They're a vet or a teacher or a solicitor. Those sort of people, their awareness of this is going to be quite minimal. Do you feel, running a networking event yourself, that 2017 is a year for landlords to get out and network and talk to other landlords?
Well, Vanessa, I'd love to see it. And here's another thing. I'd like to see letting agents engage more closely. Now, a lot of letting, and I know that's a particular theme in property tribes, many letting agents try, but the landlords say, I'm just interested in the money. And it might be that it's not till they get their tax bill for next year that they suddenly realise, there's a change. However, I think we can be prepared, those of us who are speaking and putting out information. We can offer information and preparation to people who are willing to take it. And certainly I would say to anybody on an individual basis, please establish a relationship with your lettings agent if you have one. Don't just give them the keys and walk away. It's well worth it. Most of them are actually very highly qualified. I know they get a bad press, but that's not my experience. They're very experienced. They're often property investors themselves. They know a lot. And once they realise that you're serious and not just another time waster, they will be very generous to you. That's my experience with information, with contacts, and with support.
Well, I totally agree with you there, actually. I think lettings agents are a fantastic resource that landlords should tap into. They have tremendous local knowledge and they are there to support and help. So I totally agree with you that landlords should make the most of it. So looking ahead to the new year, what sort of advice would you give to landlords in terms of, perhaps they have to be better at crunching the numbers and understanding what's going on?
Yeah, I would say generally speaking, what I would advise is if you're buying property, go for something that's in very good condition already. Now, I know you might end up paying a little bit more, but it's tenant ready. Because I think that rents will be going up. It's just my opinion. Because there'll be a shortage, because landlords will be selling, rents will go up. And when tenants are asked to pay more rent, they want a better standard. So go for a slightly higher standard, or go to the bottom end, so to speak, go for a refurbishment, a repossession, or some other thing like that. Get yourself a budget, do it up to a good standard. Avoid what I call the middle muddle.
I like that. Now, I think I'm right in saying you've been in property for 29 years. So you've seen it all. So to finish, I'm going to say, are you going to keep the faith with property?
Absolutely, definitely. I set it up. I set up my investment so I'm to have a comfortable retirement. I intend to have a comfortable retirement. I've gone through a lot of pain in my property journey. I've got the experience. By the way, I enjoy it as well. And no, I'm not going to be cheated at this late stage.
Well, that's absolutely fantastic. It's so great to talk to somebody with 29 years experience. And thank you very much for your contribution today in this interview. It's been really lovely speaking to you.
Thank you, Vanessa. Thank you.